Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are checking out the Gecko Customs Pictus. And that's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. Now, this knife does come from Fred the Lug, dear friend of mine, and an absolutely massive supporter of the community. If you watch any YouTuber, I guarantee you've seen Fred's knives getting reviewed because he supplies like 20% of all knives all reviewers get to see. So if you see him in live chats, give him a shout out. He's awesome. Now, this knife was designed in-house by Gecko Customs, and the OEM, I believe, from what I can tell, is Bestech. But if the designer wants to correct me in the comments, then that is more than welcome. All right, so jumping right into this knife, and this knife's been out for a little while. It's been available. People have known about it. But I think it deserves more attention than what it's getting. Considering what you get for the price point, I think it's pretty fantastic. So taking a look at the scales, we've got this nice kind of lightly darkened titanium. We have beautiful milling lines that are going down the scale. We have really nice chamfering to make sure that all the edges are softened and there's some ergonomics there. We do have a small 25% backspacer. No spot for a lanyard. We do have a medium carry milled titanium pocket clip. It's blind screwed. I believe that's the correct term for it if it's screwed on the inside, which is nice. It minimizes hardware. As far as the hardware goes, we have 2 body screws here and nothing on the front. So a very clean, minimal design. Pocket clip works great in and out of the pocket. And actually, now that I look, we have no visible hardware on the front at all. The pivot is blank. A very simple satin with a satin pivot collar. Same thing over here, except we've got the tooling still visible, which, I mean, it's mandatory. Otherwise, how do you access it, right? As far as the ergonomics go, we have a really nice, kind of simple profile, but we can see that we thicken as we get further away from the blade. So you can fit right in here. I wear large size gloves. I can hammer fist it, full 4-finger grip. Now, I will say that, you know, the front locks you in and the back kind of locks you in. So if I were to be a size larger, I might have to bring my pinky down here, which maybe like an XL hand would have to bring their pinky down here, which isn't uncomfortable. It's not necessarily ideal, but you could do it. But for my size hands, this is a perfect fit. You really can't choke up. You can do a little trigger squeeze if you want to, and you'll stay away from that tip right there. But I don't think it's meant for that, right? So you can do it, like you can make it work, but I wouldn't just be throwing my finger up here willy-nilly because you might catch that tip there. Now, as far as the blade goes, we've got this really nice, what I'm going to call oh geez, I just forgot the name of it. Warncliffe. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and call it a Warncliffe. We have a beautiful belt satin. This feels like a hollow, so it's going to be great for slicing. We have a nice tip, great for poking. We do maintain robustness throughout the tip. We're rocking S90V for the blade steel. S90V is going to be my preferred over something like M390. It's got modest toughness, but it has insane edge retention, and it's really corrosion resistant, right? So, you know, as long as you keep in mind that it's not the toughest steel, it's likely not going to rust out on you, and the edge retention is absolutely insane. S90V is up there with M398 for me as far as preferred blade steels. with S90V being a little bit tougher and having pretty similar edge retention. We have this nice big blade window, and it's got, I don't know what you would call it, but I actually don't know what you would call it, but it's where it's windowed a little bit thinner on the inside, just to add some character and add some aggression, as opposed to just being a straight up, full window. We've got this little compartment right here, which just adds some character. We have a nice little notch here. You can pinch grip it, but that notch isn't really anything in particular. You just pinch grip it. You can put your finger up here. This is great for precision cuts, draw cuts, but it's also a great slicer. So you could take this to the factory and just lay into boxes. It doesn't have a huge belly or anything, but it still gets the job done relatively easy. Just a beautiful blade. Nice hand satin on the flats. Add a little contrast, and make it dance in the light a little bit. We do have this Gecko logo, and it's a fine logo. I feel like we could have just as easily stuck that on the back of the blade, because we have otherwise a completely sterile blade. So, and they went so far to make it clean up front. No hardware, no blade steel, no words, no anything. I think, and don't get me wrong, I understand the designer wanting to have his logo front and center, but I feel like we would have gotten just as much impact having it back here instead of up here. I think up front would have been, it just would have taken this knife to the next level, having the logo on the back of the knife. We are rocking an inset liner lock, something I glazed over. But, and we'll talk about it more. Well, actually, we can just jump into the action. But we'll cover this first. We've got some nice milled lines, and we have plenty of lock bar access. So it's really easy to just get in here, disengage it, a little bit of a shake shut, and it closes great. Something I might start talking about is the closed profile of a knife, because this closed profile looks absolutely fantastic. Just a beautiful looking knife, open and closed. I'm a tremendous fan. All right, let's talk a little bit about the action. We've got two forms of deployment. We've got the window, and we've got the front flipper. Both of them are equally fantastic. I think it's easy to have a window to reverse flick. Like, it's easy to do that. But to have a front flipper work as good as this one does, it takes very little effort to actuate, but you don't fall into it. Like, sometimes if you just barely touch a front flipper, you kind of do one of these where you come a little out and you didn't really get any pressure behind it. That's not the case here. It's got really nice jimping. Jimping goes all the way up and around. You lock in, and then it snaps out. The acoustics on the way out, great. On the drop, great. Very easy front flipper to actuate. Now, it doesn't pass the 369 test, and that's where we start at the 3 o'clock and the 6 o'clock, and then we rotate the handle to the 9 o'clock. The reason it's not passing isn't because it isn't smooth, but with the blade being a hollow grind, it's lacking some weight. And it's not a very tall blade, so, that does play a factor. Now, I haven't taken this apart or lubed it because it's not mine, and that might have an impact on it. I don't think it'll be drop shutty on its own, but a single shake gets it. Super fidgety knife, just an absolute blast to manipulate. Yeah, this thing is terrific. Huge fan. All right, let's talk about the sharpening life. It looks like yeah, you're going to get plenty of sharpening out of this. We're a little thick until about here, but you've got so much room to sharpen off of this. You'll definitely get your money's worth out of this knife before you start to create a smile. Stop pin is nowhere near the sharpening choil. We lock up underneath the flipper. Not the flipper, but we lock up, I don't even know what to call this area. But basically we're locking up down here. So you don't have to worry if you wanted to cut in your own sharpening choil. Not that you need to, but you absolutely could. Let's talk about some specs. Overall, we're looking at 7.74 inches with a 3.66 blade. And it says we have mathematically, we have a blade to handle ratio of about 0.9. Now, I know that's how blade to handle ratio is calculated, where you take the blade and you divide it by the handle length. And it does look like he squeezed in about as much as he possibly could. And overall, it does look really good as far as blade to handle balance. I just have a hard time believing, and the way to calculate it is, in case I might have just said it, but in case I didn't, it's the blade length divided by the handle length. And as far as weight goes, we're rocking an overall weight of 3.45 ounces. Do some size comparisons. We're going to go up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen. It's one of the best Civivis ever made. And up against the real steel Sylph, made slightly shorter because I rolled the tip. And then one of my favorite budget knives of the year so far, the Migaron Gotov. And it looks like the Pictus is coming out pretty far ahead of both the Sylph and the Gotov. So not quite a full-size knife, but pretty close to it. All right, what's the price on this guy? The price actually surprised me quite a bit, especially if it's made by Bestech. This is coming in at $239.99. So basically $240. So is it worth $240? Well, I'm going to say yes, it is. Because artisan cutlery delivers typically, you know, a more plain Jane knife, you know, not really contoured, not a whole lot of design going on, for about $200. And you know what we're getting for our extra $40 is we're getting a hand satin flat. We're getting a hollow ground belt satin blade. We're getting Bestech quality fit and finish. We're getting some really nice milling and chamfering with an inset liner lock. You know, these little bitty things add up as opposed to artisan cutlery's kind of like stonewash or polished stonewash that they give. In, you know, compared to their more flat scales. So I would say for the extra $40, you know, in that action, it's just fantastic. I would say this is definitely worth the $240. I really don't think you can go wrong, especially when you consider the feel and manipulation of this knife, which is hard to tell because you're not holding it like I am. But to me, it's a night and day difference versus what you get. And I love artisan cutlery, make no mistake about it. But it's a night and day difference from what I would expect from artisan versus what I would expect from Bestech. And the $40 is pretty justifiable in my opinion, right? You know, like artisan cutlery, to my knowledge, doesn't give us, you know, zero hardware up front. You know, I don't think we get that from them. I don't think we get inset liner locks from artisan. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are just little bitty touches that can add a few bucks here and there. So I think the $240 is pretty justifiable. Now for me, this would be a daily carry. It has been an absolute blast to carry. I have to give this knife back to Fred the Lug. I really don't want to, if I'm being honest. You know, I would rather hold on to this one. But, you know, I get it. He wants to hold on to it too, so I understand. But what about for you? Is this a collection piece? Would this be a daily carry? Or did this knife just miss the mark for you entirely? I'm really interested to read your thoughts down below. So please leave a comment. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.